Hello guys, welcome back. This is Dinesh here, and in this video we'll write a program for our very first Android application and we'll check its output on the emulator or the Android virtual device. In the previous videos I showed you how to create a Hello World application and introduced you to the basic files and folders which are there inside your Android application. The application that we are going to create right now is called as Change Text Application, in which I'll introduce you to the text view and button attributes of XML. Now, for your convenience, the Change Text Application will be covered in 3 separate videos. In the first video, I'll show you how to create button and the text view attribute inside the XML file. In the second video, I'll show you how to create the button and text view data type inside your .java file. I'll also be showing you how you can link the text view and button in Java with the text view and button in XML. In the third video, I'll show you how to create an Android virtual device from scratch, how to make it run on your system, and lastly, we'll check the final output on an Android virtual device. So without wasting much of a time, let's start with the program. So first I'll go to File, I'll go to New, I'll choose New Project. Now I'll name my project as Change Text. So just see over here guys, the first alphabet of your application name should always be capital. Just keep that thing in mind. You can keep the rest of the alphabets as you want. After that, my company domain is Engineers Dream, so my package name becomes com.engineersdream.changeText. Now after that, my project location is in D drive, Artinia, Android Studio project, Change Text. After that, I'll click on Next. Now my minimum API level is ice cream sandwich, and as you all know, my target API level, that is the starting API level, API 23. So I'll leave the settings as it is. After that, again I'll click Next. I'll choose the empty activity from here. I'll hit Next. My Java file is labeled as main activity. My XML file is labeled as activity_main. After that, just hit finish. So now Android Studio will take some time for building up my application. So then, as you can see over here, my Change Text application has been completely loaded over here. So first, as I told you, I'll move ahead to my activity main.xml. As you can see, I'm currently inside the activity_main.xml tab. And if I zoom my device over here, you can see the hello world text has been printed over here. Whenever you create a new application, by default, the text that you see is hello world. And if I go inside the text tab, I have a text view. If I click on this, you can see the hello world is getting highlighted because this text view tag, or we can say the text view attribute, is for the hello world. So the next thing that I'll do is, I do not want the hello world text over here, so I'll go ahead and delete it. So I just deleted the hello world code from here, and if you see now, the text view that was there for hello world is basically gone. So I just have the relative layout. Now the relative layout is one of the many layouts that you have in Android. Now basically what happens in relative layout is you can actually place any component relative to the other component. So currently what I'll do is, just below this line that says .main activity, I'll put a space, and from here I'll start writing the code. Now if you're writing the code for any of the attributes, first you start by opening a triangular bracket. So I just open a triangular bracket over here, and inside this I type down text view. So again I'm getting some warnings, I'll again ignore them for the time being. Now since I've written text view over here, and since in this text view the T is capital and the V is capital, we can call this text in camel casing format. Now the reason why I'm calling this as camel casing is because you can see, since the T is capital, then the next 3 alphabets are small, again the V is capital. So if you actually trace this entire text, you will see that this is in the form of a camel hump. So that's why these are also called as camel casing. After text view, just put a space, type down Android. Now after typing down Android, put a colon. Now the first thing that I'll be declaring inside my text view attribute will be ID. So I've just typed down Android :ID equal to, then put double quotes, @ plus ID slash. Now I'll give this text view some ID, and I'll give this an ID of text view. So I've given the ID right now. Next I'll set the width and height of the text view. So I'll type down Android layout width, and I'll set it equal to wrap content. Again, I'll go to Android layout height, and again I'll set it to wrap content. Now, wrap content basically means that the text view attribute will only surround the text that is related to the text view. Now, after layout height, I'll type in Android text equal to, and I'll give this a name of change this quote. Now, I'm done filling in my text view attribute. Now, to close the attribute, I'll just put a slash. After putting a slash, it will just put the corner brackets over here. Now my text view attribute is complete. I'll bring this Android down. Now for your text view attribute, whatever you see on the left side are called as attribute names, and whatever you see on the right side are called as attribute values. So I've defined my text view attribute. Next I'll go ahead and define the attributes inside a button. So I'll open the corner brackets, I'll type the button over here. Now if you look very carefully guys, inside my button the B is capital. So if you see guys, after I type any of the text, Android Studio automatically gives me some suggestions. So currently the suggestion that Android Studio is giving me is Android. The next thing that I'll be typing is Android, so I'll choose Android over here. After that again I'll choose ID equal to, I'll put double quotes. Now for writing the ID, this is how we write the syntax, @ plus ID slash, and I'll give this a simple ID of button. Now after writing the ID, the next parameter that is important is Android layout width, and I'll set it to wrap content. Similarly, Android layout height, I'll again set it to wrap content. After that, the one more parameter I require is Android text. Now I'll give this a name of change the above quote. Okay, the reason I'm using the word quote over here because at the end in the text we'll be writing some motivational quote actually. Now as you can see guys, inside the text view I have 4 attribute names. Inside the button also have 4 attribute names, but inside the button I will be adding one more attribute by the name of Android on click, and I'll set it equal to change port. So what is this on click? Now on click is basically a method which you call whenever the user clicks on the button. So it's like you have a button, and whenever the user clicks on the button, the on click method will be called. Okay, we'll be using the on click method inside a Java file. So once I'm done with this, I'll put a stroke and I'll just close this up. Now let's see how our design looks like. So as you can see in the design, you can see the button, but you cannot see the text view because it is hidden behind the button. So what I'll do is I'll just drag the button down now. Okay, now you can see over here my text view which says change this quote. Now this is the advantage of using relative layout. You can actually drag any components inside relative layout anywhere you want, and relative layout also gives you like where is your button in relative to the relative layout or in relative to the layout. Similarly, it shows you where is your text view in relative to your button. Now the next thing that I'll show you is what do you mean by wrap content match parent. So if you see right now, I have a button text which says change the above quote, and surrounding the button text is the button view. Now the button view is only occupying the space required for the text, and this is what you mean by wrap content. So now if I go ahead in my text tab and if I change the layout width of my button, now please be very careful guys, I'm inside the button attribute. If I change the layout width to match parent, you can see over here that the button is now occupying the entire width of the screen. And the last way in which you can define your layout width and layout height is in density pixels. Okay, so if suppose I write down 40 dp over here. So if you see over here, so now I've changed the width to 40 dp, and once I change the width, you will find out that my width is now 40 dp, but since my height is wrap content, what has happened over here is the height of my button has adjusted itself so that it can contain all the text. So if I now change this to 100 dp, you can see over here, this is how this will look like. Okay, so whenever you keep wrap content the button or any of the XML component will try to readjust itself according to the text over here. So now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and change this to wrap content only. So I've changed this to wrap content, and as you can see over here, my button width and height are occupying a normal screen. So I'll just stop over here. We have finished the code inside our XML. Next, what we'll do is we'll go in our main activity.java and we'll finish the remaining code. So in the meantime, if you like this video, please feel free to hit the like button. And if you want to learn Android from scratch, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys.